Hey everyone, it is late at night and I am Norman. When I first started my channel, I never imagined I would be reviewing a Rolex. But I am tonight, so let us begin. I just recently got back from vacation, and while I was on vacation, I did a watch swap with a good friend of mine. If you haven't seen my video showing clips of my vacation and explaining that watch swap, I've left a link for it in the description below. So now he has the Max Bill and the Space View and the Hamilton Khaki Field, but I have his Rolex Explorer. So what's interesting is I'm not much of a steel sports fan, and that's mainly why I never imagined that I would be reviewing a Rolex on this channel. However, I do like the Milgauss, and after participating in the Traveling Watch project, I realized just how much I love the Explorer aesthetic. And that's what I get to review tonight. So I was really excited to be able to borrow a Rolex Explorer, the real deal. This particular piece is from 2001, and because of that, there are some very interesting details in this watch. Let's flip the camera around and check it out. And here it is. And like I said, I had no idea how much I absolutely loved the Explorer aesthetic until I saw a Seiko Explorer style watch in the Traveling Watch Project watch. Now, before I really dive in, full disclosure, I am a complete Rolex noob. I have actually had a Rolex on my wrist twice in my lifetime. Once when I was on Maui in an AD. I tried on, at that time, they actually had Submariners. And I tried one on. That was a long time ago. So, I am reviewing this as a person who knows very little about Rolex except what you encounter casually, watching YouTube videos and reading watch nerd articles and whatnot. So let's start out with the bracelet and then we'll move our way to the watch. So the buckles on these bracelets are very interesting. How it kind of has this bump here. It's not really smooth. It is on this side, but over here there's quite a little bump there. Very interesting. You can unlatch this. And look at that. That is so crazy. In 2001, Rolex was using pressed clasps. That is pretty wild. That was a surprise when I first saw this. And my friend, when he ordered it, just about had a heart attack because of that. And I totally know how he feels. Pretty much every time I buy a decently priced watch, like the Nomos and whatnot, the first time I see it, I typically have a mild cardiac event because they just aren't what I expected, or there's always something. But then in time, it doesn't even matter because you just love them. But yeah, that is pretty crazy there. We see that it has a lot of micro adjustments there, which is great. It is brushed all over the faces here, except for the sides. Those are polished. The bracelet feels amazing, as it should, as you would expect. It is a little noisy, but when you're wearing it, I haven't even noticed any sound. So it's mainly when you're just kind of fiddling with it and scrutinizing it and whatnot. I don't mind it at all. The end links on this are hollow, which is another interesting fact about this watch. And so we have the center piece sticking out here, but they don't stick out very far. They pretty much hug your wrist. And this is actually a smaller case, so you wouldn't have the whole overhang issue anyway. But yep, of course it's a brilliant bracelet. Looking at the case back, one thing I actually love about this watch is how plain that case back is. There is absolutely nothing on it. It's actually kind of cool. It's so rare to see that. So there's some brushing there, a little bit of polish, a little coin edge there, which is cool. Just super utilitarian, I love it. The case sides are polished, but the top is brushed. The bezel is polished. So, as you can see, that will be a scratch magnet. But yeah, I like the curving shape of the case. It looks really nice. The polish on the sides and on the bezel really gives it a dressy touch to kind of contrast the brushed surfaces. And apparently the proprietary steel that Rolex uses is absolutely phenomenal. My friend said that he was actually able to Brillo off some of the scratches that had accumulated just from desk wear and stuff like this. So that's pretty cool. And looking at the crown, it is a screw down crown. Winding it is crazy. That is the smoothest crown I have ever wound. You don't feel anything. There's no grain, nothing, just smooth. And then we'll pop it out here. Set this. That is so smooth. Oh. Now when you're setting the Nomos, it's pretty smooth like this. However, this almost has like a very slight resistance to it, which almost makes it feel more substantive, if that makes any sense. It makes the movement feel more solid, but less dainty maybe. Maybe that's the description for that. It just feels like a nice solid movement. So smooth. Pop that back in, and even just pushing the crown back in is so smooth. And this is a 2001 piece. And the crystal is totally flat. It has a bevel to it though, on the edges there, which looks pretty cool. Light sometimes catches it really nicely. I was actually wearing it commuting today, And as the sun was setting, it looked so cool, catching some of that sunlight through the bezel there. And looking at the dial, there we see the amazing Explorer style Rolex dial. It is completely glossy. However, I haven't really had any visibility issues. It's always pretty legible to me, but with the flat crystal and that glossy dial, I imagine that there are times where it kind of gets lost there. Kind of gets difficult to read. There's the trademark handset there. I like the font on the indices, the triangle, very cool. Yeah, I just like the Explorer aesthetic. That is really cool. We have the text on the dial that you would expect. Rolex, Oyster Perpetual, Explorer, Superlative Chronometer, you know, the usual. Very cool. I do love that seconds hand. That is very cool. Look at the counterbalance. That is awesome. And one thing that is really crazy about this watch is you cannot hear the rotor at all. It is pretty wild. All right, at the opposite end of the spectrum, I have my super affordable Palliot. Let's take that off of the wrist, and we'll see what it's like to have an Explorer on your arm. So here is the Rolex Explorer on my 7-inch wrist. And you can see that even though it's 36 millimeters, it has a ton of wrist presence. Especially if you're not used to wearing a bracelet. It's always crazy looking down and seeing a big chunk of metal all the way around my wrist. I'm used to seeing leather. Oh, but look at that. That is so amazing looking. All right, let's charge this thing up and get some lume shots. Try and get that nice and even. Oh yeah, check that out. Now that is some bright lume. Wow. Nice. It actually took me a decent amount of searching to find a complete list of specifications for this watch. So the case size is 36 millimeters. The case thickness is 11 millimeters. The lug to lug is 42 millimeters. The lug width, sadly, is 19 millimeters. The movement type is automatic. It has a power reserve of 42 hours. It has 31 joules, and the movement caliber is 3130, which has a frequency of 28,800 beats per hour. The crystal is sapphire, of course, and it is the reference 114270. Now, because this isn't my watch, I haven't really been able to experience it as an everyday wear. I'm not going to just put it on and leave it on as I'm doing stuff throughout the day. I don't want to get even the smallest hairline scratch on here. So I only wear it when I'm sitting around on the couch in the evening, or maybe if I'm commuting to or from somewhere. But in the limited experience I've had with it, this has been a sheer pleasure to wear. It is super comfortable, never pulls arm hair. It really isn't that loud when you're actually wearing it. And I like the weight, I love the aesthetics, and it is really sweet having a Rolex on your wrist. So there you have it, the Rolex Explorer 114270. And it is amazing, as you would expect, even from a vintage Rolex from 2001. So it does have hollow end links and a pressed clasp. That is craziness. But this watch is just phenomenal. I love the Explorer aesthetic, and it's 36 millimeters. Perfect. Thanks for watching.